30 seconds to go, so you know it's not bad.
Good stuff.
We're now streaming live.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to this cabinet meeting. We'll take agenda item 1, apologies for absence.
Apologies this evening, Leader.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No. We move on then to the minutes. Is it your wish that I accept the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday the 16th of September as a true record?
Agreed.
Are there any objections? No objections. Those minutes are accepted. Thank you. We move then on to item 4, Cabinet Overview and Scrutiny Protocol. Right. I'm very pleased to see this come through. We're moving forward with a much better way of running the overview and scrutiny. Has anybody got any questions on it? If not, I propose the recommendations, which are to receive and note the report and to approve and adopt the Cabinet and Overview Scrutiny Protocol as is set out in Appendix 1. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wybrow, thank you very much. Does anybody wish to speak on this? No? Okay, then we go to the vote. Again, Gemma, can you take the recorded vote, please?
Of course, thank you, Leader. Councillor Collier.
For.
Councillor Godfrey.
For.
Councillor Field.
For.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
For.
Councillor David Monk.
For.
Councillor Peel.
For.
Councillor Prater.
For.
Councillor Wybrow.
For.
And Councillor Wimble.
For.
Thank you. That's unanimous.
That is unanimous. Thank you. We now go on to agenda item 5, General Fund Revenue Budget Monitoring second quarter. Again, the report is before you. Considering the times we're in, I think it reads quite well. Second budget. There is, we do show an overspend. The main reasons for the overspend relates to decreases in income in the following areas, largely due to COVID. High swimming pool down 249,000, on-street parking down 169,000, off-street parking down 364,000, and council tax collection court costs 150,000. And commercial rental income down 395,000. The above are partly offset increases income in the following areas: COVID grant 1.154 million, development control, planning performance agreements and planning application fees at 302,000. I think that really adds up to the most of the variances around. Does anybody else have any questions? Therefore, I will propose the recommendations. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Collier. No other member wishes to speak. Then, Gemma, can we go to the vote, please?
Councillor Collier.
For.
Councillor Godfrey. Councillor.
I've lost you.
Are you there, Councillor Godfrey? Okay, I'll come back to Councillor Godfrey. I'll skip to Councillor Field.
For.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
For.
Councillor Monk.
For.
Councillor Peel.
For.
Councillor Prater.
For.
Councillor Wybrow.
For.
Councillor Wimble.
For.
Okay, Councillor Godfrey, have we got you there still? Leader, I think we might have lost Councillor Godfrey, so can I suggest that we just pause the meeting for 3 minutes to allow him to reconnect?
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes. 4.
he's back. He's done it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Godfrey. I make that unanimous, Leader.
Thank you
Can
very
anybody
much.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. We can. Now we move then on to item 6, which is the general fund capital budget monitoring. Right, again, the report is before you. Again, nothing untoward in here at all. The recommendation is to receive and note the report, which I propose. Is there a seconder for that?
Happy to second, Leader.
Councillor Mrs. Hollingsby. Is there any member that wishes to speak on this? No? Councillor Field? Did you
No.
indicate? No?
No.
Okay. Therefore, proposed by me, seconded by Councillor Mrs. Hollingsby. Can you take the vote, please, Gemma?
Of course. Councillor Collier,
4,
Councillor Godfrey,
4.
Councillor Field,
4.
Councillor Mrs. Hollingsby,
4.
Councillor Monk,
4.
Councillor Peel,
4.
Councillor Prater,
4.
Councillor Wybrow,
4.
and Councillor Wimble.
4.
It's unanimous, Leader.
Thank you very much. We then move on to item 7, the HRA Revenue and Capital Monitoring Report, second quarter. Councillor Godfrey.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Firstly, folks, I can't pull up the agenda items and the cabinet reports because of the Fred Carno outfit I'm working on with no Wi-Fi down here in Hampshire. But the report in front of you, I have managed to pull up on my mobile just to check, is the snapshot at the end of the second quarter of the housing revenue account and capital monitoring. Basically, COVID has slowed up much of the development work, slowed up a lot of the repair work, offsets, and therefore the budget hasn't altered that much. It shows a fairly strong position. However, we need to wait and be patient and see how those capital spending goes ahead over the coming months and how rental income goes over the coming months. If anyone's got any questions, I'm going to ask one of the officers to
Okay.
respond.
Are you proposing the recommendations?
Worried about
You're breaking
this
up a bit, Councillor Godfrey. Are you proposing the recommendations? I will propose the recommendation.
Put the paper to you.
Is there a seconder? If you can hear me, Councillor Peel, thank you. Okay. Are there any questions? And if there are, we will get the officer to it. Councillor Prater.
Thank you. Fully understand in 3.2 the reason behind the decrease in expenditure on the various different areas. Obviously, it's been really hard to do works. Could the officers give an indication of how much of that decrease is looking to be spent in year to be caught up this year, assuming all other things remain equal at this time, and how much is likely to defer into following years? Obviously, some will go each way. I just wondered if we could have an indication of the best guess at this moment.
Will anybody help on that?
Hi, I'm happy to come in, Leader, Chairman. It's a little bit hard to say that at the moment. We're just picking up all the capital programme now. We're running with the existing capital programme that East Kent Housing were working on prior to that. And as many of you are probably aware, we're doing a big stock condition survey, which we're tendering for at the moment. And then our new capital programme will flow from that. But that's going to take, it's basically a 6-month process to get that stock condition survey done. And then we need to formulate the programmes after that. So then the financial year 22-23 will be our first capital programme. We've got the staff in place to hit the ground running on this. We're going to be doing as much as we can, obviously, to get back up to speed. But we really need to understand the condition of our stock across the board, because we don't have that benchmark information at the moment. So we'll be continuing with the existing programs for now. Exact figures I will have to report back on because I don't have them to hand. And as you'll appreciate, we only started on the 1st of October, but we have hit the ground running with those programs and the contracts that are already in place. And then I can report back at a later date on how much of this money will be spent. But the plan is to get as much work done as possible. But first and foremost, to really understand the condition of our stock, because we don't want to be wasting money, and we want to make sure that the capital program pulls in everything that we needed to, and not be doing ad hoc works where other works might be needed. So I hope that answers for now, and I would like to report back at a later date, but I'm not in a position to do that right now.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Prater?
Yeah, I'll take that. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any other councillor wish to ask a question? No. Well, in which case it's proposed by me and seconded by Councillor Peel. Gemma, could you take the vote, please?
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Collier.
For.
Councillor Godfrey.
For.
Councillor Field.
For.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
For.
Councillor Monk.
For.
Councillor Peel.
For.
Councillor Prater.
For.
Councillor Wybrow.
For.
And Councillor Wimble.
For.
Councillor Wimble. Excellent. Thank you. That's unanimous.
So unanimous again. Thank you. Now we move on to item 8, the Treasury Management Annual Report. This again comes under me as holder for finance. I think that considering what we've been through, the Treasury management of this council, you've got to say, is absolutely marvellous. And the information in the report, I doubt if there's a question you can ask that hasn't been addressed in it. So the recommendation is to receive and note the report, which I'm happy to propose. Do I have a seconder?
Leader.
Mrs Hollingsby, thank you very much. Okay, over to you, members. Has anybody got any questions on this?
Can I?
Yes, of course you can.
Can I say, sorry, I should put my, no, I just wanted to reiterate what you said in terms of, I always actually find this report very interesting. It sets out the situation quite well in the economy, not just locally, but obviously nationally. There's just one thing I wondered about on the Appendix 1, borrowing loans held at 31st of March. If you look at the first one, the Public Works Loan Board, there's 389,000 outstanding, and the interest rate is 11.38. And it just occurred to me, I wonder whether there was any thought of perhaps it's due to be repaid by 33. I just wondered, because that interest rate is so high, whether there was any opportunity to change that or
To repay it early?
Yes, yes.
Right. Almost certainly not, but I will ask Mr Walker if he can comment on that.
Thank you, Leader. We can investigate the possibility of repaying that. There would be a premium to pay, so it would actually cost us more than the remaining balance to repay that, that's for sure. For the amount involved, I think my recommendation is we just run with that. It is a historic loan. As you can see, it started in 1973. It gives you an indication of how interest rates have moved since then. But one of the things we do with the portfolios, we always look if there are opportunities to redeem any of these loans early, if it's financially viable to do that. We do that in consultation with our advisor, Arlene Close. They certainly haven't recommended anything to me at this point in time, but I will look at that and speak to them when I sort of next have an opportunity to see if there's any way we can sort of deal with that one.
Thank you very much. I assumed it would be fees, and that doesn't surprise me, but I thought it was worth asking the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any other councillor have any questions? No, then it's proposed by me, seconded by Councillor Mrs. Hollingsby. Gemma, would you take the vote, please?
Thank you. Councillor Collier.
4.
Councillor Godfrey.
4.
Councillor Field.
4.
Councillor Mrs. Hollingsby.
Or
Councillor Monk.
Or
Councillor Peel.
4.
Councillor Prater.
Yeah, 4.
Councillor Wybrow.
4.
Councillor Wimble.
4.
Thank you. That's unanimous.
thank you very much. We then move on to item 9, electric vehicle charging points. Councillor Godfrey.
Right. Hope you still hear me, Leader. I have a very unstable connection here, so maybe
Councillor Godfrey, I'm afraid that you are just breaking up. We can't hear you. Perhaps can you hear me? Perhaps I could ask Mr. Miller to give us a summation, because you're breaking up, Councillor Godfrey. We can't hear you. I'll pass it over to Mr. Miller to give us a
Fred Miller to jump in.
Yeah.
Electric vehicle charge.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Miller,
Yes,
can
please.
you just give a quick introduction to this for us, please?
Yes, I can. Sure, I can. The report provides details of the current EV charging points in the district to make recommendations for additional charge points in the district. The majority of the charge points that we're proposing will be dealt with by Kent County Council. All our car parks we're proposing to have charging points there. Kent County Council are currently running this program. With regards to the on-street charging, we're proposing 15 in different sites, and we have attached a list of all the sites that we're proposing lamppost charging points to go. And the cost for that is £40,000. So we're asking for that expenditure to be met from the climate change reserve. We're also making recommendations for charges to be introduced. At the moment, it's free of charge for people to charge their vehicles. We are recommending 25 pence per kilowatt hour, minimum of £2.50. And we're also recommending that the EV drivers continue to pay for their parking in chargeable car parks and on-street locations.
Okay. Thank you very much. I would like to propose that we add a sixth recommendation, that the precise location. Who was that? The precise location for the charging points are agreed by the cabinet member for the special projects. So I've added that to it. That is so that a discussion can take place about the precise location of these. So we're agreeing the principle here that the exact locations to be resolved. Okay, so Councillor Godfrey is nodding. Do I take it you are proposing this, Councillor Godfrey?
If you're hearing me, yes, please.
Yes. And is there a seconder? Councillor Peel, thank you. So over to you, members, for questions. Councillor Peel.
Thank you, Leader. I was just going to ask a question around how the taxis were going to work effectively.
I didn't quite catch that.
I was going to ask about. No, that's right. I'll come back to you later. Don't worry. I'll ignore me. I'll come back later.
Okay, Councillor Wybrow.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I was a bit disappointed, actually, that given this is going to be funded from the Climate Change Reserve, that neither I, as the cabinet member for the environment, nor the Climate Change Working Group were consulted about this. The group's been working very hard with LASER to measure our baseline greenhouse gas emissions and use that data to produce an evidence-based carbon action plan to ensure that any money we spend is put to the most effective use. And if that process is bypassed, then I can't guarantee that we'll be getting the best value for money from our climate change budget. And the last time that these charging points were discussed at the working group was back in February. And the minutes just say that on-street charges will be considered, but these could be cost prohibitive. And I also recall one of the officers saying that the EV chargers may become obsolete if hydrogen becomes the preferred technology. And all of a sudden we have a paper recommending them and at a cost of 40,000. So I did go and consult the working group by email. I got rather a mixed response. My view is that really it should be the government that's coming up with a national joined up network of charging points. But I don't see that strategy coming from government. So I guess we are going to have to fill in the gaps. One member of the working group believes it's just a tick box exercise and will be a waste of money. I don't think I agree with that, but I think it's important to remember that electric vehicles are not emission free, and just replacing petrol and diesel cars with electric vehicles is not the only answer. We do have to reduce dependence on private cars and increase opportunities for walking and cycling, as well as improving public transport. Obviously, we're not the Highways Authority and we don't have any control over public transport, so our options in these areas are limited. I think there's a lot we could do at Otterpool, and I don't think the designs for Otterpool at the moment are quite good enough. And I think private car ownership is still being incorporated into it. There's a lot of talk about walking and cycling on site, and I think that will happen. But I think the way it stands at the moment, residents will need a car to get off site, and I think a bit more work could be done on that. I was assured that the working group wasn't deliberately ignored and that we will be consulted on future decisions on how the climate change reserve is spent. So on this occasion, I'm happy to support the recommendation, but I do just want to stress again the importance of decisions being made as part of an evidence-based holistic strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wybrow, for that well-considered response. Councillor Prater.
Thank you, Leader. I'm certainly not going to be voting against money for installing on-street EV charging. I think it's a good development. I was also, it was the issue that was a surprise to me within this was the proposed on-street locations. I fully welcome your 6th recommendation, which is there in terms of those locations. I'd either like a tweak or a commitment that we will do so as part of that. Those on-street locations within Sandgate, for example, and there are 2 of them, which I'm personally delighted to see, I know has been through no consultation or even discussion or even notice to the parish council, for example. The same may well apply in Folkestone and Hythe, etc., but I can't be absolutely sure there. It would be helpful if in that agreement of those exact locations, if there was at least a back and forth with the town and parishes on those. Just they may have more information. I know one of the spots which I can literally see from my window here at the moment that is proposed for it. There may be slight alternative positions that I'd suggest within 50 metres of that location. Other towns and parishes may well have that input. So I'd like to see recommendation 6 either acknowledge, or as long as it's acknowledged in the meeting, that's fine, that in terms of agreeing those exact locations, that we actually have that conversation with the areas in which they're being positioned. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Prater, I think that is why the recommendation 6 is there, so that discussion can take place. Councillor Peel.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I'm sorry, I've got my questions sorted out now. So I was just interested in how the taxi ranks would work.
Right, that's a technical question, and I therefore once again defer to Mr. Miller. Can you help us there?
Yes, with the taxi ranks, it would be pretty much the same as the normal vehicles. We'll have on the lamp columns, we'll have the electric charging point attached to the lamp column by the taxi ranks. So we're proposing to have, I think, 3 taxi ranks, which we've identified in the report, and it will be they just simply plug in their vehicles to the charge point using the cable that they will have, and they can charge a vehicle there.
Okay, thank you. Does that answer your question? more or less?
I think from a technical approach, yes, but yeah, I'll see how this progresses.
Okay. Has any other member got some question on this item? Okay, so you've got now 6 recommendations before you, proposed by Councillor Godfrey, seconded by Councillor Peel. Gemma, can you take the vote, please?
Indeed I can. Councillor Collier.
For.
Councillor Godfrey. Councillor Godfrey.
For.
Councillor Field.
For.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
For.
Councillor Monk.
For.
Councillor Peel.
For.
Councillor Prater.
For.
Councillor Wybrow.
For.
Councillor Wimble.
For.
Excellent, that's unanimous.
Thank you very much. We now move on to item 10, response to consultation on the planning white paper, planning for the future. Councillor Wimble.
Thank you, Leader. Quite a complicated document this. The government has been consulting on these radical reforms to the planning system set out in the white paper, planning for the future. Members will remember earlier consultation on other changes to the system, including the housing numbers, which were discussed at the last cabinet meeting. The current consultation sets out much more of a wider range of reforms to the planning system, including the local plans, development management process, and how local authorities would collect contributions from developers. It went to overview and scrutiny. It was sent a link to the presentation summarising the proposals, and the presentation was also given to the district and parish councils joint committees on the 24th of September. While some of the proposals can be welcomed, particularly the cutting back on some of the legal requirements, the focus on speeding up decisions does raise questions about input from local people. I know at local town council level, that was one of the things that was picked up. Some of the proposals aren't very clear, such as how housing requirements will be calculated. Again, this is something that we mentioned at the last cabinet meeting. Other proposals are still to come. The white paper says that further consultations will follow later this year, including into the future of home standards, setting out environmental standards for new homes and changes for the process of getting listed building consent. So it's a very comprehensive document. I would like to move that we accept it going forward and await the final outcome of what the collective is for this white paper.
Thank you for that. Are you proposing it?
Yes, happy to propose it.
Okay, and is there a seconder? I will second it, and the reason I want to second it because I want to add another couple of recommendations, and this actually comes. It was promoted by the Labour group, and if we put these 2 recommendations on, we won't be debating it tonight in the chamber. So because this is the essence of what they want, is to put 2 more recommendations on. One, number 3. To send a letter to the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government highlighting the Council's comments, and 4, to make available the Council's response to the consultations on the Council's website. I think both those things are eminently sensible and have no hesitation in recommending them. So I have to ask Councillor Wimble if he's happy to accept those 2 recommendations.
More than happy to accept them, and it again shows our openness under scrutiny.
Thank you. Okay, so over to you, councillors. Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
I will find my raised hand in a minute, but sorry. I just wanted to say I'd like to thank the officers, Adrian, I would imagine, for the work put into the responses. I think the responses certainly from my point of view, would cover everything that we've talked about, and I think that the comments are extremely sensible and really do detail our concerns, our views, and how we would perhaps like things to change. So I would congratulate the officer on those responses.
Thank you. I would add a comment that I do believe that whilst sometimes it is I get frustrated by it, the local input is, I believe, absolutely necessary. And I don't think we should do away with it at all. Okay, did any other councillor wish to speak on this? Then it's proposed by Councillor Wimble, seconded by me. Gemma, would you take the vote?
Of course. Councillor Collier,
For.
Councillor Godfrey,
For.
Councillor Field,
For.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby,
For.
Councillor Monk,
For.
Councillor Peel,
For.
Councillor Prater,
For.
Councillor Wybrow,
Or
Councillor Wimble.
For.
That's unanimous.
Oh, it's all right. I've got it here. Right, okay, we come on to item 11, and the proposal is to exclude the public for the following item of business on the grounds that it is likely to disclose exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of part 1 of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972, that is, information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information. Financial or business affairs includes contemplated as well as current activities. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second.
Councillor Peel. Gemma, I think we still need to take a vote, please.
I think we should check. Councillor Collier,
For.
Councillor Godfrey,
For.
Councillor Field,
For.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby,
For.
Councillor Monk,
For.
Councillor Peel,
For.
Councillor Prater,
For.
Councillor Wybrow,
or
Councillor Wimble.
For.